Welcome. How are we all feeling? Very good. Well, let's get the conversation started. As you all know, tourism is critical to Dubai's economy, and it is going to be a key component of the recovery story as well. So let's unpack some of the key themes and some of the trends that we can expect to see over the next few months as the economy reopens and society gets back to normal. Your Excellency, I'd like to start the conversation with you, if that's okay, please. As the Emirate gets back to business, how are you hitting refresh on the Dubai tourism and travel brand? Can you talk about some of the strategies you've been putting in place over the past few months?
So first of all, good afternoon everyone. I want to welcome all of you here. I also want to take this moment to say, our thoughts definitely go out to all those affected by COVID-19 across the world. And also a special thanks to our leadership, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and also the follow-up of His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed for really, guiding us through this pandemic and taking, very decisive actions at each stage of the way to ensure we are where we're sitting today. Of course, also thanks to Sheikh Hamdan for coming to visit us today. I think that was very encouraging. When we're looking at the tourism sector, when we're looking at Dubai, particularly, we see definitely, a great feeling and a great sense of positivity with the reopening. Over the last months, a lot has happened. I think, the first thing I would say is a great thanks to the private sector, working very closely with us to ensure we can open all aspects of the tourism sector safely, and and I think that early opening has given everybody a chance to get used to, what is the new COVID normal that we're currently living in today. Of course, we're all hoping for the post-COVID. And we're all looking forward to that. But right now, how do we make business work in this time? When we talk about Dubai as a brand, it's very important when we think overseas, and maybe Batras will tell you a little bit more about how many locations. But we have a very diversified tourism strategy. And that really means that people really do come and visit us from all over the world, just like our residents and all of you sitting here today are from all over the world. Our tourists are the same, and we are lucky enough to have that airlift, which gives us that privilege. What we're seeing is people are definitely interacting with our brand. In fact, and again, this topic's about AI, but when you look at the way we market and the way we cover, 48 to 52 countries, depending on, what campaign, we find that, the machine learning and also the types of tools that are used to optimize the type of creative assets, we've seen a great shift in people throughout this pandemic. So if we look at the type of assets people were looking at, the type of content they were consuming, 10 weeks ago, then 8 weeks ago, then 6 weeks ago, and down as little as 2 weeks ago, that's varied a lot. And the good thing though is we've never seen such high engagement as with Dubai brand. And I think that's a testament to the advocacy Dubai has across the world. If you take even 2019, 25% of the visitors who visited Dubai in 2019 had visited Dubai before in the previous 12 months. So that level of repeat visitation and that level of advocacy has really helped us to ensure that we do have a lot of people, who continue to be waiting to come back to Dubai, for holiday, to visit friends and family, for business events like this, and we really see, this interest increasing.
What is the most critical tourism market for you, and how are you targeting that market?
For us today, we definitely have what we call a top 20 markets. And what I would say is that all of them are just as important. You have markets such as the UK, Saudi, India, that together make up circa 30%. But then you have many other markets that make up between sort of 3 to 7% of our tourism. Even China today. We're in touch with over 250 partners in China. We engage there with a very large number of travel agents, and we're waiting for the Chinese market to open back up, because we see that in itself will continue to be a top 10 market for us. If we look at the last period, everybody, I think every single person mentioned these tools like Zoom, WebEx, etc. My team has engaged with around 65,000 travel agents across the world in over I think 380 online calls to really ensure that all of our partners, we have over 3,000 trade partners across the world, they're all ready and started to sell Dubai again. And there's a great level of interest. The other thing is when you look at the reports which are coming out, on a weekly basis about people's interest in travel. I mean, if I asked everyone in this room, is anyone really planning not to travel in the next 12 months? I don't think anybody would raise their hand. And we're seeing that online today. So we are actually seeing from all of our source markets, we're lucky enough to be coming in, always at the top 5 in searches. Many cases, many of our markets, we're coming in the top 2 people are searching for to understand what's happening. And again, I have to emphasize here, this is not just leisure tourism, because we also have a lot of business tourism here, whether it's to these type of events or many of the multinationals and other corporates set up here, use Dubai as a hub, as said by Mudassar earlier, as said by a number of speakers earlier, as a hub for the whole region. And I think that is what is very important, and we need to build on the trust created by the government's handling of this pandemic and engagement with business across to continue to build on that success.
Absolutely, and we're already starting to see green shoots, I guess, when it comes to tourists and tourism resuming here in Dubai. I want to bring Paul Griffiths into the conversation now. Paul, let me just say you've also done an excellent job of keeping the airport running throughout the course of this pandemic, and what a challenging job that would have been for you. So thank you for your work. But I guess maybe take a step back and just characterize for us the impact that the pandemic has had on the airport, and can you quantify it in any way with regards to travel numbers, passenger numbers coming through the airport? Can you put a piece of data on for us?
Well, thank you very much, Dan. And it's great to see everyone here. And what I'm reminded, seeing everyone here, is what an emotional experience has been for me, because seeing everyone in 3D again has been amazing. We spend all our time with our children telling people not to sit in front of the TV all day, but for 8 hours a day, on Zoom and Teams. That's what we've been doing. So it's fantastic for my eyes and for everyone else, I'm sure, to see us all here. The impact on the airport was very, very rapid and very dramatic. We went from 1,100 flights on a typical day, 280,000 passengers, down to 17 flights in the space of 3 days. That was pretty dramatic of itself, but in May alone, we had 44,000 passengers through the airport, which is the normal number that we would normally experience at DXB in 4 hours. So the dramatic impact on the airport has been quite astonishing. However, we took some very quick action with the support of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum, who has been by our side and very much in evidence throughout this pandemic. And what we've done is taken measures to make sure that the safety and security of our passengers and staff is absolutely at the forefront of everything we do. And I think, just as Helal was just describing, the most important thing we've got to do is reassure everyone that Dubai is an incredibly safe and great place to be. And not only will people be safe and secure, but when they're here, if there's a problem, we will look after them with our excellent healthcare. So the impact on the industry has been absolutely enormous. But thanks to the very quick decisions made by the government, the decisive leadership we've all very much appreciated, I think we're going to have a very rapid rebound as and when the world opens up. So getting our head around the changing dynamics of what's happening on a daily basis across the world is quite challenging, but we have a great team, and I'm sure when the world starts travelling again and public sentiment supporting travel, the 4 billion people that have been under lockdown around the world, the thing they most want to do is get back and travel. And we've got to give them a great high quality product, a great opportunity, and great value for money to get them back to the UAE. So I'm very optimistic about the future.
So Paul, just to expand on that, how are you collaborating with Emirates to make international travellers feel safe when they come back?
We're in more than daily contact with my colleagues at Emirates, Griffiths here representing them today, because of course an airport without airline activity is not really a functional entity. So we are working to support everything they're doing. We put product changes in place. We've put plexiglass in the check-in to protect the check-in staff. We've sanitized the entire airport from top to bottom. We've got high-tech COVID busters on our handrails of all our escalators to deal with things to keep them sanitized. All of the entire walking route has been properly physically distanced, and we've opened up a few of our outlets to give passengers the convenience as they go through. But the aim is to really try and convince everyone that we were very early and proactive in making sure that people feel safe when they travel, which is an incredibly important commodity I think people will be wanting us to assure.
Boutros, would you like to pick up on that? How is Emirates catering to the post-COVID traveller, and I guess expand for us some of the initiatives that have been put in place over at Emirates to make people feel safe and to bring them back to Dubai and to get people moving around the world again?
Yeah, it's no secret. We took all the.
It's dropped down.
Sorry. So we took all the necessary measurements, like everybody else. It's no secret to respect all the necessary protocols and safety. Of course, safety becomes people are so much aware about safety and measurement today, and because simply it touches their own life. We are from Emirates. It's not easy. It may sound like all positive, but it's in fact it's very complex operation, which require a lot of coordination and cooperation with various.
Just get a new microphone there, please. There we go.
Oh, is this one working? I didn't realize myself.
I might give you my microphone.
And now? Okay.
There we go. Excellent.
Okay. So sorry, just maybe I missed the question on what Emirates is doing in terms of safety. Of course, for us, we've been ahead of or the forefront of a lot of other airlines in taking safety measurements, especially when it comes to aircraft sanitization and all the protocols. Even before the pandemic, Emirates had very advanced filtering systems where travel has been always safe and takes all the health measurements. All what we are trying to do now is to spread the message that travel is safe. This is now probably the biggest problem the airline industry is facing. Obviously, our industry is very global. It touches every point across the globe. We cannot really, I wish we were like a local organization. Travel has been hit globally, of course, and for us it became extremely challenging to restart, not just restart the operation as such, but I talk always with my marketing hat, is to convince people that travel is safe.
Boutros, I also have a prickly question for you, if I can, please. With regards to Emirates, I know aviation has just been so profoundly impacted by this pandemic, and Emirates has, of course, been right-sizing its business in recent months to respond. Can you tell me, when people start coming back to Dubai, will they have to pay more to travel, or will Emirates keep prices low, despite the fact that the business has been right-sizing and adjusting in this environment?
I can say our prices are very competitive. Obviously, you would realize like Emirates is not looking at this stage at making money. we are looking at providing a service which is started, if you all remember, in the beginning of the pandemic, it started on repatriation flights. Even we brought people for free. Prices, of course, the market dictates the price, but of course the cost is much higher. With the restriction of travel across the globe, which is still going on, it becomes very difficult to fill in an aircraft. One of Emirates Airline main mission is to service Dubai and United Arab Emirates and to keep it connected. So you probably heard now we fly to over 50 destinations. Over 50 destinations, it doesn't mean the same frequencies we used to travel before. So we are trying to provide the service at a really minimum cost on us and minimum cost on passengers. So to be honest, our prices are still very low in comparison to our cost.
Your Excellency, obviously that'll be a factor for when tourists and travellers start to come back to the Emirate and to the country. I wanted to get you to respond to a comment that the IATA boss made this week. He said, the crisis will have a long shadow. And I thought that was quite an interesting comment, but he's saying the crisis is going to have a long shadow. Fewer passengers are saying that they will travel again in the first months after the pandemic subsides. So how do you change the marketing playbook to cater to that traveller who is perhaps more concerned about travelling these days, and also, I guess, to add another point, maybe less financially able to travel as well? Clearly cost is a big concern for everyone now in this, to use a word Paul hates, the new normal.
Look, I think that's a very important question, and I think I need to go back to maybe the first session of the day where Mr. Almarri talked about the pandemic coming as a surprise to everyone, and being ready for what's coming in the future. I think he talked about September or whatever. But the way we look at it is very simple. Is that here in Dubai, I think everybody has been very much supportive of the way the government has approached this pandemic. How do you learn to live within this new norm? The policy of testing, tracing, has allowed people to go back to work. It has allowed us to, put in safety measures to conduct this type of event. The WTTC has awarded us the Safe City stamp. What I can say, and again, what makes us really proud, is if you look at the 200 nationalities living here in Dubai, they've taken this responsibility on themselves. And it's not anymore, this is transferred from a government initiative to the initiative of the whole city. Now that is something which is very visible globally, and people can see that, you can see very clearly on the news, a city like Dubai and the UAE itself that is approaching this pandemic in the way that it should be approached, with caution, putting the right measures in place, knowing that life must go on, and trying to get back to your new normal. His comments are very specific, and the comments he made related to the next couple of months, definitely is correct. Not all airports are open today. We are, as Boutros mentioned, Emirates is opening over July 50 cities. They've reinstated the 380. All of these are very positive signs, and we are, again, in daily communication with Emirates, and we are going out to those cities, making sure we have the communication in place. And again, what we are finding is that the traveller today, it's not really, he knows that the airport and the aeroplane are going to have particular measures in place, and that's being promoted everywhere. What he's also asking about is, what about the city when I get there? Is the city, how is the behavior in the city? How are the various touch points that aren't interactive? What's it like going to the beach? What's it like going to restaurants? And all of these questions are getting asked. And again, we're even investing now, we have sort of AI chatbots that are answering people's questions on a live basis. It's very, very important to ensure that everybody outside knows what we already know. Many of us, and again, the comments he made as well, the attitudes are changing very rapidly. The person who 6 to 8 weeks ago wasn't thinking about a holiday, that wasn't the first thing on their mind. As Boutros mentioned, and many people have, they're starting to think about that. And they're looking for familiar cities that they feel confident have taken the right steps and have the right healthcare system and have the right tools in place to ensure they don't have to worry about that while they're on holiday enjoying themselves. And again, in Dubai, I can say that the enjoyment and the fun has returned to the city. You know, everything is open, you know, almost everything is open. I mean, if you look at the tourist touch points, whether it's beaches, water parks, you know, these are the things that tourists see, and this is what, you know, we as Dubai Tourism work closely with the industry, and we actually have inspectors, you know, who we give the tools to, and they have the online tools to track sort of everything happening to make sure that there's not 1% or 0.5% of people, you know, businesses who are not complying. We need to make sure 100% compliance, and that's what's been happening over the last weeks. And we've seen, you know, I think what's happened is the early opening, which has allowed a lot of domestic tourism, has allowed all businesses here to get used to it. They've put in their own tools, their own digital tools, their own, you know, train their own people, and that's really worked in the right direction. What I think is that it is going to be a summer over this quarter where cities are opening up. As airports open up and as Emirates fly there, we will see people coming. Post this period, once everything's open, we will see a lot more normalization. And I sort of said in previous interviews that I see that coming, the normalization part coming more in Q4. And that will be within the new normal of COVID. Then post-COVID, you know, we do expect things to go a lot more back to normal because, you know, ultimately, you know, people do want to, you know, meet face to face. They do want to travel with family and friends. You know, it's no longer enough for people to stay at home with their Netflix and Zoom.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I'll just give the final word to Paul and Boutros as well. When you look towards the future now, Paul, what is the airport of the future going to look like? We've spoken about this in the past, but I'm sure your thoughts on this have changed now. And Boutros as well, the aircraft of the future, are we going to see social distancing measures kept in place for a while longer yet? What other measures are we going to see enacted on board the aircraft to keep people safe? Paul, I'll start with you.
I think whilst we're in the middle of the eye of the storm, it's very easy to be quite depressed about things, but actually I think that the future, particularly for Dubai and all of the things that we've seen today, whether it's focus on technology, its solid leadership and its compliant behaviour, which has actually made a huge difference to the limitation of the spread of COVID-19. I think all of those things are giving us an excellent platform to spring into the future. And I've always believed that airport design is incredibly old-fashioned and very legacy. And actually what people now want are more personal experiences and better value for money. And I think the shadow that the IATA DG talked about of COVID-19 will be that people will firstly want more assurance about the quality and safety of the product. Secondly, they will want to be able to understand that they have the job security and the financial wherewithal to travel again in large numbers. Now, I think airports of the future will actually be much more personal experiences, and we will have to invest a huge amount of money in taking a lot of the legacy systems that exist in airports for the convenience of the airport operator, not for the convenience of the customer, and take those off-site where they can be done at homes and in offices, so you don't have to go to the airport except to get onto your plane. So that will change in the future, and I believe what we've been through over the last few months will accelerate that change. And I think, you know, rather than airport operators sitting back and going back to the way they were, I think this is a great opportunity to transform the customer experience.
I guess the aircraft of the future is going to be from an airline point of view for us, and we hope and we like to have the same aircraft we had. So it's like all this talk about social distancing inside the aircraft and so on. It's nice to have it during the COVID, yes, but post-COVID, we like to believe to go back to normal. The economy of the aircraft is built on filling the seats. So having the space, I don't think it's going to be an option unless passengers are willing to pay. Because no matter what we do, you always ask, when is your price going to be cheaper? So the reality, what we wish is one thing, the reality another thing. Again, everybody knows it's no secret, like after the post, once they find a vaccine, hopefully things will go back to normal. How quick, we don't know. But we are very optimistic. We are in an industry where we carry people.
not. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Well, look, what we might do is just quickly take some questions from the crowd. If you do have a question for one of our panelists, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. And we can continue the conversation very quickly. I know, Your Excellency, you wanted to take a question if you can. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to ask a question?
Go ahead, please.
Sir, over here. We'll try and get a microphone over to you as well.
Okay, is this working?
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe if you just speak very loudly.
As you can see, it's a little while since we did events.
Yeah.
Hello. So good afternoon. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. It's the first event, and great to be here. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the Dubai government. They have done an amazing job during the COVID-19, the lockdown, and I think, especially Helal Almarri Excellency, keep us updated on the tourism industry, what's coming and what is next. My question is following. Of course, during this lockdown, everybody, all the companies learned something. But my question is, what was the biggest lesson you learned during the COVID-19? Question for all the panelists, please.
Look, I think in context of the tourism industry, you know, if we had to say, and again, many lessons, but if I focus purely on the tourism industry, there are a few things that definitely resonated. The first one was the support we have from the private sector, because what we saw in terms of the private sector's reaction to this pandemic was amazing. You know, everybody from the people sitting in the front row to people I see in the crowd, they came and they offered their services to help. And in fact, they offered their staff accommodation, their hotels. Everybody wanted to contribute to the city. That was very humbling, but at the same time allowed us to move very, very quickly, and it really allowed us, to overcome the challenges that other places in the world were having of capacity. So that was definitely one thing that really resonated. The other thing is that the strength. The other thing is the strength of the infrastructure here. We're very lucky, and again, some of the speakers earlier were talking about the healthcare system, the hospitality, the hotels we used, all of the infrastructure we have in the city as well. The people were able to turn it around. The lesson, of course, is one that we need to be prepared, and I think Mohammed al-Abbar said this earlier. We need to be more prepared. We all thought we were very prepared for anything. Well, I, for one, I'm not speaking on behalf of my colleagues, but again, the general feeling is that something like this was not expected. If you look today, what I think is most important from where we are at this stage of the pandemic is really ensuring that we move forward fast. We want to make sure that we take every precaution, but we always want to make sure we're first out of the door. This is one of the reasons, if we take the event industry today, this is one of the reasons we're having this showcase event. We could have left this event till the fall, but again, because of all the people and all the interest that was shown from corporates and from all of you, it was very important to hold this event with all the precaution measures to really show, for the whole industry to see how it can work, and for the world to see that, if you do come together and you work closely together, you can definitely make things work even within this new normal.
Paul Boutros, any thoughts on that question?
Well, I think the first impact to manage was liquidity, because clearly you have to, in any business, if you get a crisis, maintain and stop the flow of cash out the door. So we had to take some very early steps to stop that happening, and then manage through a period of very difficult conditions, unprecedented conditions, and manage quite an austere operation. I mean, 1,100 passengers a day instead of 280,000, and then reducing capacity because of the need to maintain isolation between people. So that's been very challenging. But I think the thing is, what we must all remember is that this situation will pass, and the opportunity to be bright again and to do all the ambitious things that Dubai has been famous for decades, those opportunities will re-emerge. So we have to maintain our capability and in fact increase our capability through the pandemic, so that when we emerge at the other end, we've got a better product, a stronger reputation, a much better value for money proposition, and every single person in the entire sector, from government, private sector, hospitality, tourism, is playing their part in putting Dubai on the map as a great opportunity to come and experience. You know, once people have been here, they come back for more. I know that Helal statistics prove that. So actually using this period with some great commercial opportunities to stimulate trial and give people that ability to come and experience what a great place it is, that's the opportunity that we must seize upon.
Boutros, the biggest lesson learned, and then if you could answer quickly, we'll take one more question.
Lesson learned, of course, a lot of lessons learned, but in terms of operation for us, is it about a challenge? Our challenge, unfortunately, we are a global international company. We are not purely local. We don't have domestic market. Therefore, our biggest challenge is when the whole world comes back, it used to be. In terms of readiness, we are ready. We have a huge fleet, maintained, kept, and waiting for the business to come back. So as quick as the pandemic is over, as quick as we can come back anytime to service the country and our customers.
Do we have one more question from the audience for our panelists? Yes, sir, over here.
Yeah, hi. Alex Bentley here from Link Viva. We're an event company. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge Dubai's leaders, and especially DTCM, as we work very closely with you. The question I have, which you've kind of touched on before, is how important do you see the event industry, and given the fact that we're at Dubai's really first conference and event happening, how important do you see the event industry as, for all three of you, as being a driver for the economy going forward during the pandemic?
So look, to answer your question clearly, you know, obviously the importance of the event industry is definitely there in Dubai. As all of you know, Dubai is one of the world's largest events hub, both by scale and also the quantity of events we have of all types, whether it's business events or leisure events. You know, the visit of His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed also shows, you know, how important this is, you know, in terms of the city's agenda. When it comes to the last part of your question, which is during the pandemic, you know, during the pandemic, i.e. over the coming couple of months this summer, you will see events of all types emerging. We do have concerts planned for Eid, we do have concerts planned for August, there is electronic music events happening in the next couple of weeks. You know, business events in the summer are not that frequent, so you know, maybe there will be a few more, but it'll be more in the fall. However, one thing in common with all of these events is that there will be extremely strict, as you see today, precautionary measures taken and health and safety measures taken. So we will not be going back just yet to the big open concerts, for example, where there is no social distancing. We will not be taking any of those risks at the moment. You know, it's a similar thing, you know, with other tourism-related businesses, such as the cruise business. We do expect it to start in the fall, but not just yet. And the reason is because we want to make sure that we do this opening in stages. You know, we've just got the tourism's coming in again, we've got the airport, we want to make sure that goes smoothly. We'll do a number of showcase events over the coming weeks and build up confidence in the sector over this quarter so that we can hopefully go back, you know, take the best of it and go back to the new normal in the quarter after that.
Your Excellency, unfortunately, we're out of time, so we'll have to leave it there. But thank you so much for joining us today. Paul Boutros, thank you as well for joining us. An excellent conversation.
Thank you all, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you. Sorry for
شو ذنبك انت؟
No, it's not.
يا